Hi guys, this is Kriste, and today I have for you a 20-minute yoga-inspired follow-along stretching video all focused on the lower body. So if you just did a leg day in the gym, if you went for a run, if you're a cyclist, or maybe on the contrary, you just spent the whole day sitting at the desk and you're feeling quite stiff in the legs, this is for you. So as I mentioned, it's 20 minutes, it's quite thorough. We'll get deep into those muscles, into those tissues, ligaments and tendons. When you finish the video, please can you let me know in the comments what stretch felt the most rewarding and what was the most difficult for you to get into or to achieve. So let's get to it. All right, so let's begin on the hands and knees. Spread the knees as wide as you comfortably can, and then have your big toes touching or at least close together. Sit your hips back to the heels, and then we'll walk the hands forward, melting the chest and the forehead down to the mat. Now, if your head lowers, you can just relax it on the ground. If it's, hovering somewhere, that's fine too. We're trying to get into the hips here a little bit, the inner thighs, as well as the back and the spine and even the shoulders because the arms are stretched over the head. So just a couple of more breaths in that child's pose. And then slowly lift the head, walk your hands back. We'll come into a variation of hero pose with the knees wide. So if you feel some tension already in your quads, and maybe your ankles, you can stay here supporting some of your weight with your hands, right? Maybe somewhere here, maybe closer to the body. If you're quite all right, you can place the hands on the top of your thighs and just stay here. Now, if the ankles, the front of the ankles, are acting up, you can tuck the toes like so, which we will do eventually anyway, and that will stretch the back of your foot, so the sole of the foot, your toes as well, which can feel quite nice. But for now, we have another breath here, just if you can, if that's working for you. Okay? And now you already know where we're going, so tuck your toes if you haven't yet. 3 breaths here. If you can, breathe just through the nose and try and find this slow, full, soft breath. So it doesn't have to be loud, it doesn't have to be strong. Just keep it nourishing and quite relaxing too. Good. Now place the hands down in front of you. Close the knees just a tiny bit so you're comfortable and stable. And tap your feet down, relaxing those ankles. You can drop the heels to one side and then another. And then walk the hands forward even more. Tuck your toes and lift the hips back and up to downward facing dog. So find your comfortable down dog, and from here let's press one of the heels down and lift the other one as you bend the knee. And then change, alternating the bend of the knee, getting into the hamstrings, so stretching the back of the legs, maybe even your calf muscles, just pedaling your feet and breathing. The hands are active too, so the fingers are spread wide. You're pressing the hands down like you wanted to move the ground away from you as the chest is moving towards the back of the mat. Just another breath. Good, and then stop with the movement. Now we will lift the right leg off the ground a little bit and cross it behind the left one. So you're pressing the left heel down and you're using the right leg just for weight. So you want to get more into that left calf now. Really push the weight back and push the left heel down. Good, now bend your right leg. And send the knee towards the chest. Move the shoulders forward and then step the foot down in between the hands. Lower your back knee and come onto your fingertips, lifting the chest Let the hips sink forward, especially the left one. So you don't want to open the hips to the side. You want them to be square to the front. Deep breath. Sinking the hips forward. Softening through your thighs. Pull the right hip back as you move the left one forward. Now, if this is already a big stretch in your quad here, then you can stay here. If you want a little bit more, see if you can place your hands on top of your right thigh without moving your hips back, okay? So the hips are still sinking forward, but you're lifting up. Use your hands to move your chest back, kind of going into a back bend, sucking the belly in a little bit so you don't want to push it out. You really want to get into the hip flexors and your quad here. Nice. We have 2 more breaths. Make them soft and slow. Good. From here, place the hands back down and see if you can lift that back heel off the ground towards your glutes. Still finding an active stretch in the quad, really squeezing it in as you're breathing. Don't move the hips back though, the hips are still sinking forward. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze that hamstring. Nice, and then relax. Place your right hand inside the foot, so both hands are inside the foot, and you can wiggle the right foot out a little bit so you have more space and it's more comfortable. And now start circling your hips. So you can go to one side, and then change sides. You can do a figure 8 with your hips. You can draw a star, whatever feels good for you. Also, it doesn't have to be a shape even, it's just any movement. So kind of wiggling here to let the hips settle. And then we will find lizard. So this is the pose that we're already in, with your hips sinking forward, with your hands inside the foot, with your chest lifted. If this feels quite okay, you can start walking the hands forward to get the chest a little bit lower, to get deeper into those hips. If that feels okay, you can then start lowering the elbows on the ground. If you have any props around you, like a yoga block, if you're in a gym, or maybe you have cushions if you're at home, or maybe you have cushions in the gym, you could place them underneath your elbows, underneath your forearms, just to find that kind of middle ground in between being up high and being on the elbows. That's if you feel that you can quite, go a little bit deeper, but not as deep. Good, now place the hands back down, extend the elbows, and we will drop the right knee out as we roll on the outer edge of the right foot. So you can place the hand inside the right thigh and press it away from you. Lean away with your chest, looking at the knee. Breathing deeply. And then come back down, place the foot down. Place the hands down. Take a breath in as you lift the chest. Take an exhale as you send your hips back, straightening slowly that right leg. Now keep the hands where they are. You don't want to walk them back. It's just the hips that are moving back. Try and keep the back straight. So think about sending your tailbone up behind you. And then inhale to rebend. Exhale to straighten again. Inhale to rebend. Exhale to straighten, pulling the right hip back, pushing the left one forward. Inhale and exhale. And just one more. And then we will stay with the legs straightened, whether it's fully or a little bit. You could also lift your toes up now and really pull that right hip forward, pushing the left one. Sorry, you're pulling the right one back, you're pushing the left one forward here, so squaring the hips, right? Now maybe you fancy placing your hands outside this leg and kind of twisting over the leg. Just see if it gives you a different stretch, a different sensation that might be nice. And then place the hands in front of you. This time frame the foot as you rebend the leg, wiggle the foot forward so it's more in the center. Take your back toes and move back into downward facing dog. Walk it off. Good. And from here, let's press both heels down and then cross the left leg behind the right one. Pressing the right heel down, using the weight of your left leg to add some extra pull towards the ground. Breathing through your nose. And now bend this left leg, stand the knee forward towards your chest. Move the shoulders forward, round the upper back, step the foot down, lower the back knee, come onto your fingertips. Find this pose. Sinking the right hip forward, the left one back this time. We have a couple of breaths here with no rush at all. Deep and soft. The hips are moving forward with every exhale. The thighs are relaxing. And now, just as we did before, you can stay here if you want, or you can place the hands on your upper thigh, on your left thigh, and then start leaning the chest back and away from this knee. So not moving the hips back. The hips are moving forward, but the chest is moving back. Focusing on the right hip flexors, the right quad. Sucking the belly in, moving the right hip forward just a little bit more. And then place the hands down. Lift the chest, the hips are still low. Now let's lift the back heel towards the glute and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Feeling that hamstring, but at the same time pressing the right hip forward so you can get into an active stretch through the quad. One more breath, squeeze just a little bit more. Good, and then release. Place the left hand inside the foot and wiggle the foot out. And again, we will move the hips. We'll do the shapes or something else. Just see what feels nice, whether moving back and forward to the sides or circling or twisting. That's completely up to you. And if something feels nice here, feel free to stay there for a little bit longer. You know, maybe just in a twist here. If there's a sweet spot, then go for it. And now let's stop in the lizard. So again, whether hands on the ground, whether hands on a prop if you need one, whether walking forward or lowering on the elbows. Letting the hips sink and soften as they do that. Three more breaths. Now place the hands down. Lift the chest with your inhale, so you're sinking forward and lifting the chest. As you exhale, start straightening the leg. Again, try and keep the hands not moving so they're stuck to the ground. Inhale to rebend. Exhale to straighten. Inhale, bend, keeping the hips square. Exhale, moving back. Two more. And the last one. And here we will stay with the legs straightened. Again, the toes could come up. Lift the chest as you're spreading it. Keeping the back straight-ish. And now again, feel free to explore, be curious, maybe twisting over this leg as you place the hands outside it. And then reframe the foot. Move it to the center. As you inhale, lift the chest. As you exhale, tuck your back toes and we'll come into downward facing dog. And again, wiggle it off. Nice. And now push the chest back even more. Come onto your tippy toes. Look forward. Press the hands down and start walking forward. Keep your hips super high over your shoulders and keep pressing the hands down until the last moment. Here at the front, lift the chest just halfway up, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, fold down. Place the hands on the ground. Your knees can be bent a little bit if you need that. And again, we're pressing the hands down, coming on the tippy toes, walking ourselves back into downward facing dog. Good. And when you reach the back of the mat, bend your right knee and send it towards your right wrist as you place the foot more to the left side. So you're crossing your shin over the mat and we're finding pigeon pose here. So you can have the back leg straight, or if it's a little bit too much, you can bend it to the side as you roll onto your right hip, okay? And now wherever you are, we will fold over this right shin. So you're lowering down, maybe placing the hands in front for support, maybe twisting a little bit to one side or another to find a stretch in your right glute and maybe your right thigh. So it's the same if you have the legs straight behind you. Just finding what feels good and exploring. And breathing, most importantly. We will have 5 more breaths here. So see if you can soften with every exhale. If you can soften in that right glute. If you can soften the breath. Really wind down. Now, if your elbows are on the ground, place the hands down, lifting the elbows. We will place the back toes on the ground and the right toes too at the back of the mat in downward facing dog. Again, walk it off. Stretching here the hips, the legs. And now we will send the left knee forward towards the left side of the mat and the foot will move more to the right. Again, the back leg can be straight or you can bend this knee out to the right side. Just see what works more and don't be surprised if this side is completely different because it's more than common to have differences between the sides. Okay? And then again, folding over the leg. You can stay here on the hands. You can come onto the elbows. Just seeing how this side feels. And don't forget to be curious and to explore. So sometimes even a tiniest twist or movement to one side can hit the pose completely differently and in a good way. So it's very important to explore. And then maybe find where you want to settle. Maybe just continue with movement. Just do it mindfully. So as we move, if we are moving in the pose, if you're swinging your upper body maybe, You want to see what that swing, what that movement does to your body. Because there's no point in just, creating a dance here. I mean, maybe there is. But in terms of the stretch, you want to be mindful of what's happening as you do certain things. So you can become more and more aware of your body and more familiar with it. Nice. Now let's come out. So from wherever you are, we'll come into downward facing dog. And walk it off again. And now from here, drop your knees down. And we're done. If you want, you could start with child's pose again. And just start the video over if you fancy more stretches. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a comment below. And I'll see you next time.